A lot of us who are working and who would consider ourselves to be part of the middle class are actually a lot closer to living on the street than we think. Over the past few weeks, I've spoken with ex-policemen, businessmen and entrepreneurs who've fallen on hard times, and women and men who have fled homes to escape abuse. The situation in reality is much more complex. Hi, my name is Tamsin Metelerkamp, and I'm a journalist with Maverick Citizen and Daily Maverick. A few weeks ago, I started working on an article about the impending eviction of unhoused persons from 7 sites around Cape Town's inner city. And those evictions are scheduled to take place from the end of July. In order to better understand the lives of the people who would be affected by these evictions, I visited these sites around Cape Town, as well as some people who are living in shelters in the area, to speak with them about their experiences and their feelings about the impending eviction. One of my conversations during the past few weeks was with a gentleman named Inus Gouws, and he's a 52-year-old man who currently lives at the intersection of Strand and Bedengracht Street. And he worked as an IT specialist and a data modeler up until the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, when he and 7 of his colleagues were laid off. For some of us, there is a safety net when we are faced with the crisis of lost employment. We can fall back on parents, friends, a spouse. But for Gouws, he was that safety net. Up until he lost his job, he'd been supporting his wife as well as his and his wife's parents. And so when he did lose his employment, there really was no one left to catch him when he fell. Gouws witnessed a snatch and grab incident, and he was called upon to testify against the man who committed that robbery. That man went to jail, but he was part of a gang, and his gang mates later hunted Gouws down and attempted to break his back. As a result, Gouws spent about 20 weeks in Karl Bremer Public Hospital, wondering if he would ever walk again. Gouws lives at one of the 7 sites that was evicted from the end of July. And for him, he would much rather no longer be at the mercy of the criminal and winter elements. He would like to move into a city-funded safe space shelter. So he has accepted the offer of alternative accommodation from the city and has been moved to Safe Space 3. He believes that he will have a better life after being removed from this site, and I hope that's true. There are over 100 individuals that were relocated from the 7 sites around Cape Town to the Safe Space 3 shelter. When speaking with occupants of unhoused communities around Cape Town and people who are living at local shelters, one of the things that came up repeatedly were the harmful misconceptions that many people have about people living on the street. And these misconceptions are things like that everybody in this position is either using drugs or an alcoholic. While there are individuals that struggle with these issues, there are also a lot of other factors that can lead to one losing a home. What I've heard from the people I've spoken to is that many of the people who are living on the street or in shelters are struggling with mental health conditions that are sometimes exacerbated by the traumatic conditions they experience on the street. There are also reports of elderly people ending up without a home, some of whom suffer from conditions like Alzheimer's or dementia. They belong in a facility where they can receive proper care, but for whatever reason, they've been left without support. A big part of the problem is that once people reach the point of living on the street, it becomes very difficult to escape that situation, in part because of the harmful misconceptions that other people have about them, but also because of factors like having things of value stolen on the streets, being unable to meet the standards of appearance that you need for job interviews, and being able to rise above this hopelessness and exhaustion that comes with living without a home. The longer you spend on the streets, the more difficult it becomes to rise above all of this. The truth is that if I were to lose my job, whether because of a shrinking media industry, poor decision-making, or chance, I would have about 3 or 4 months before my savings dried up. My good fortune is that I have a parent who would allow me to move back in for a while. I have good friends who might let me couch surf, and I have connections in my industry that would help me get another opportunity. But not everybody is so lucky. What I've realized in my work over the past few weeks is that the space separating those of us who have homes from those of us who don't is narrow and far narrower than we think. I think it makes us better people to remember that.
Join us on Thursday, 15th August at 6 p.m. for a live discussion with Tamsin Metelerkamp, Mayor Geordin Hill-Lewis, and researcher Nick Budlender. We'll tackle the housing and homelessness crisis in Cape Town, exploring key factors and strategies for government, private entities, and individuals to make a difference. Register on the link in the caption.